right, welcome to the Deadman Horror Show. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman, and with us tonight is Curtis M. Lawson. How's it going?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
So it's been a while since you've been on this show. I think last time you were on, it was under a different name, the Deadman's Tone Podcast, I believe. Is that right?
That's right.
Kind of a similar vibe. Changed the name to do things a little bit more extreme here. Kind of make it more fitting. Hopefully you'll find it. I don't know, home. But what all changed, man? What you been up to?
So I think the last time I came on here, if I was looking at our old Skype conversation, I think it was when I was put out and when I had put out those who go forth into the empty place of gods, which was a
Mm-hmm.
while ago. I've had a collection called Devil's Night come out since then that was published through Weird House Press in a limited edition signed and numbered hardcover as well as paperback ebook, and the audiobook just came out. And that's all urban horror stories that take place over the course of a single Devil's Night in Detroit. um, and then some anthology stuff while I've been working on other projects that are going to be coming out soon. I've got a collection coming out from Hippocampus Press in June, I think now, and then I've been doing a lot of work for Weird House Press. Uh, we have an anthology, the first anthology from Weird House Press, the first I've ever worked on, and interestingly, the first that Joe Morey's ever worked on, and he's like been publishing since like '83 or something. And that's called 13 Haunted Houses, and we've got a ton of great names in that. We've got Ramsey Campbell and Philip Fracassi,
Oh
Richard
wow,
Gavin. Yeah, a lot of Tim Curran's in there. It's very humbling to have these incredible authors in this book where I'm sitting as an editor for the first time. And then, of course, I have Weird House Magazine, which I'm co-editing with Joe Morey, which is a new endeavor, and the first issue is coming out in a month or so.
I see. So quite a bit. You've been quite busy, actually. It
Yes.
looks like. That's good. That's good. Nothing slowed you down, which is good to hear. And we're definitely going to talk about the Weird House magazine. It looks fantastic. That's what I saw, and that's what I was like, man, I got to get this Curtis guy back on the show, talk to him about this magazine, see what's going on with it, because I like that sort of thing. I know I stopped publishing, but I do like it when I see people, kind of like do the horror magazine thing. It's just something about horror magazines that I really, really do enjoy, and so we'll talk about that.
It's a fantastic layout for horror. I think it's just a great venue for horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let me go and put it on the screen here too, so that people will be able to see this. All right, so I have on the screen the cover. Okay. Also, it's on the website. It looks fantastic. Who did the artwork?
Nick Greenwood did the artwork for that.
Man, that is gruesome. What is that? A gargoyle?
I don't know what it is
Gargoyle
exactly, but
vampire
I dig
thing?
it. Yeah, Nick's
Succubus?
a fantastic artist. There's going to be an interview with him in there, as well as kind of a, I think we're calling it Weird House. I forget what the exact name is, but we're gonna have a kind of a gallery for artists in each issue, and Nick's art's gonna be on display in nice full color in the first issue,
Oh, that's
alongside
nice.
an interview with him.
I
And
see.
he's
Is
done
this and is this going to be monthly or is it going to be
yeah, right now we're calling it irregular because we don't,
okay? Yeah.
we're trying to figure out what we're doing still.
Yeah, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. I think that's better. You don't want to I guess you don't want to be so stuck to a deadline but not be able to deliver because things might change. You might not really get the submissions in, or you might run into an issue with like funding or something. Uh, you know,
Yeah, and right now I think my personal biggest concern with it is just the actual technical elements of the printing and stuff. We're kind
yeah,
of discussing whether we have too much content in the first issue, which has been a concern of mine. Because I was saying, "Oh, Joe, I think we might have too much content." And he's like, "No, we got to make it big." And then I think it's going to come down to what the print cost is and
Yeah,
what's reasonable, how fat it is, how reasonably fat we can make a magazine.
that's true too. That's true too. Especially this will be what 5 by 8, or what's the dimensions going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a full magazine
A full magazine?
size. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's the
All
plan.
right.
Um, so I
Like 8 by
think
11 or
right
something.
now
Yeah. Okay.
the I think the just the layout without any of the artwork or anything
And
is
are we
like
talking about? Are we
110
talking?
pages or something right now.
Are we talking color interior?
It's partially color interior,
Oh
not
yeah,
fully,
it's
not everything, but we want to like I said, we're doing these artwork features in
hmm
each issue. We're gonna highlight an artist, so we want to be able to put that in color, and not to be like crass in a capitalistic sort of way, but we're
hmm
also going to be putting ads for Weird House books in here.
yeah,
And
and that's
one of the big
fine.
sellers, in my opinion, for Weird Houses is just they're beautiful books. So we want to show that. We want to show
Yeah.
the covers in full color and let people know why they should buy these things. And it doesn't really go come across as well in black and white.
Right, right, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the
No,
publisher has to be able to plug their books somehow. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, that's kind of as authors, you guys, authors are in the business of writing books and selling books. I mean, some people, I guess, they have their opinions about capitalism, whatever. But it's like, do you want to sell some books? Or you not want to sell some books? Like, what are we talking about
Yeah,
here? You know?
I think it's kind of a faux pas to admit that's what you're doing. Everybody wants to do it on the DL.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
uh,
mean, yeah. There's ways to do, I guess, advertising where it's not so blatant, but at the same time, it's like that's where like in a magazine like this, I would imagine some pretty cool, sick ads that look pretty cool. And as long as the artwork looks nice, who cares, right?
Yeah, and speaking of like just magazines in general, I think back to like the '90s when I used to read a lot of different types of magazines, whether it was metal magazines or stuff like heavy metal, like a comic magazine
Mm-hmm.
or Monsters Attack or whatever. And there were always really cool ads on it. Like you
Yeah.
take something like Thrasher, the old skateboard magazine, and you'd
Mm.
have these ads for like I don't know, you had these cool ads for like Sam Hain skateboards and all this stuff. I don't know. I enjoy that part of it too. From a nostalgia point, I like a good ad.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree that sometimes it's like they put a lot of work in the artwork to make it look really cool. I'm looking at this cover here some more, and I gotta say, I don't know if that's a terrible way to go or not too bad a way to go. I mean, it's it's pretty gruesome, but I like it. I like it. Um, let's see, you got you have like a little thing about Silent Hill. Are you a fan of
Yeah,
Silent Hill?
I am a fan of Silent Hill. Interesting. Like I like the idea of Silent Hill more than playing the games. I enjoy the games, but I'm more into the idea and the mythology of it. I think the atmosphere. But Robert Piotone, who's actually a horror writer as well, he is super into to video games and super into Silent Hill, and he
Mm.
wrote an excellent piece about it.
Now,
Um,
do you have a preference? Are you Team Resident Evil or Team Silent Hill as far as which one's the better?
so it's funny. I enjoy the gameplay of the Resident Evil games better, I think, but I like the atmosphere and the mythology of Silent Hill more. So
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of. I think Silent Hill has more going on with it. At least in. I don't know. Wasn't there a newer game where you're fighting wheelchairs?
I don't maybe. Um,
Oh my god, that was horrible. But it started off great. It started off great. But and okay. Although Resident Evil has changed though. I mean, like the village, like stuff like
I
that. Like,
haven't played the Village, but I've seen stuff, and it looks really sick. It
well,
looks very cool.
I haven't played it either, but I've seen quite a many YouTube videos on that Lady D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I don't get a whole lot of time to play video games. I find like one game a year that I'll dive into.
Mm.
But for the most part, I like if I let myself go down that road, I don't get anything done. So I try to try to limit myself to like one big game.
That's good, man. Hey, you know what that means? That means
What's that?
there's not going to be any procrastination. That means Weird
Oh
House
yeah.
magazine is going to come through without a hitch. See, that's my problem too. I get sidetracked with games, sidetracked with streaming, and it's like okay, my priorities are all whack, and people realize it's like okay, it is
Yeah,
what
man.
it is.
I lost like a summer to The Witcher 3. It was awful.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Not a bad game to lose it to though.
No, no, it's a fantastic game.
Now, I don't know what you've been doing also, but let me tell you, if you've been looking for a home, I got some stories for you as well that I
Yeah,
think you might find quite interesting. So,
let's hear it. I
uh,
so
yeah, so apparently, so a new owner of a foreclosed home finds a dead body inside. Um, so if you're looking around for a new home and think it's gonna be okay, you just buy it and it's gonna be fine, or you're thinking about buying it. So here we could talk about it's a foreclosed home. The bank is selling it, and he's gonna do a walkthrough. The realtor's doing a walkthrough, and that's when they find the dead body. And it's not just like the dead body's hidden in a closet or stored away in a basement or something. You will not believe this, but the dead body is literally like in the master bedroom on the bed, looking right at the door. So when they were doing the walkthrough, it's like the dead grandma, the dead elderly woman, is looking right at them. It's like what? Like how did you not know this beforehand? Like how long did the bank have the house? you know, it's
I
crazy.
wonder if the banks even go into these houses sometimes. My condo that I owned before this place was a foreclosure, and there were no dead bodies in there, but it was still all the furniture. There's quite a bit of stuff left over from the old owners.
Oh wow. So they'll take the home, but they're not going to actually inspect the home or
Oh,
do
I don't
anything like
know.
that.
That's just my guess.
Not even do a basic walkthrough. Okay. Apparently there were police reports about the house that the woman never came outside. She stopped coming outside. People lost contact with her, but no one really seemed to care. I guess do anything with until there you go. The realtor found the dead body in the home.
It's pretty
Crazy.
grim.
Yeah, yeah. But apparently it's a thing too. A couple in Texas, they found a man's body while looking at a new home in Texas. Kind of
That's
a similar situation.
that's pretty nuts. I told you before we started recording. I just bought this house a couple months ago, and everybody was commenting that this spot that I'm in right now is the murder basement, and I don't know how well people are going to be able to see this on the video, but yeah, this is my
Let me put
murder
it on. Let me put
basement.
it on. Hold on, hold on.
Uh,
There you go. Yeah, murder
so
basement.
yeah,
So yeah, that right there looks like a dead body could be there. Several dead
yeah,
bodies. Like you got an Ed Gein
um,
house right there. Like
yeah.
there's some torture going on back there. Okay. All right.
And it's kind of it's wild. I've lived in cities most of my life. I've lived in Salem, Massachusetts before this, and I mean I'm only a few blocks away from the highway, but there's no streetlights where I live. There's like a horse farm across the street. So at nighttime, man, it's kind of eerie for a city dude like me.
Oh yeah, man. Out in the country. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, it's crazy. At night things can just
yeah.
disappear. It's sad, but it can.
And I'll
It's
tell you
crazy.
when I didn't notice it at first, but there's a tree in my yard, and I was backing up one night, and my back brake lights lit it up, and I noticed they had like nailed these kind of like ceramic facial features onto the tree. So I was backing up, and I just saw like this face on the tree behind me, like
Mm,
all in red light. Scared the shit out of
damn,
me.
damn. That sounds scary. Now, one thing I want to ask you here too is regarding the Word House magazine. Is do you? I imagine you growing up, you have had like maybe a particular horror magazine you gravitated towards. Maybe fond memories of reading, like Creep Show or things like that.
Yeah, I was big into, I liked the EC comic kind of stuff, like, Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt and all of that, as well as, I liked the, um, like Heavy Metal was another big comic magazine. I was a big comic guy. Um, in Monsters Attack, which was kind of a hybrid. They had articles in there, but they also had comics. Monsters Attack was a fantastic magazine. It would have these little like one page, it would be this really nice one page picture of some sort of monster or crypto
Mm.
with kind of stats on them, and then reviews on like Godzilla movies that had
Oh,
only
that's
been
really
released
nice.
in Japan, and then pretty decent horror comics. Kind of what you'd expect out of like a Tales from the Crypt kind of thing, um, but very cool. That was probably my favorite magazine growing up was Monsters Attack.
Monsters Attack. Yeah, see that one I didn't really get to read. I only was limited my selection as to pretty much what my parents had or what my uncle had. So it was
Sure.
like it was Creep Show. I think one of the first Creep shows. I remember that I was reading it. And it was like I'm looking at something I'm not supposed to see. I'm looking at this, like everything about it was like eerie and kind of but cool at the same time. It's like, oh, am I
Yeah,
supposed to read
man.
this? What's going on here? But
There
it
was there was a lot of cool magazines like that back in the day. Um, and I love what the internet's done for publishing. I love how how easy it is for authors to get stuff out, how accessible it is for readers. But you have lost some of the artifact aspect of things, especially with something like a magazine. It's just not as practical to do these things anymore. And I don't know, it's a loss. I think it's such a cool format and such a great way to read horror, um, that I think it's important to keep that tradition alive. And it's a little bit more expensive to do now, but I don't know. I just think it's really cool.
it is really cool, and I mean, there's the whole like you're physically holding it aspect. I mean, it's right there. You could turn the pages, you see the artwork. I mean, it's not like you can feel it, but you feel the pages and all that. It looks really great. Um, there's something about that what you said that I guess like back then when they were doing horror magazines, I guess the rate of publication was much slower. I mean, they weren't just I don't know because then there's also the pulp fiction side where they're just pumping out as much a, a lot really, but definitely not compared to what's happening right now. I mean, anyone right now can just upload something on Kindle or Amazon KDP, and you know it
Yeah, it's
just
just there.
saturates the content.
And yeah, and I mean, as a DIY, yeah, I grew up in like metal and punk scenes, and I was a comic book, publisher and writer after that. So I've always just done stuff myself. So I love that people have that opportunity, and that it's not as hard for them as it was for me back then. But as you said, it does oversaturate things. It's kind of a double-edged sword. And there are some people who don't take the time to consider whether they should publish something because they can. Um, and not everything should be published. Not everything's clean enough to be published. And I get it. It's tough to sit back and say, okay, maybe I'm not good enough yet, or maybe this isn't there yet. Um, when you literally have the power to just write something and put it up that same day. Um, and I think that that's kind of unfortunate for some new or inexperienced writers because they maybe think that they're better than they are, and they're gonna get it's gonna hurt their name in by putting stuff up too fast when they're not ready. But
Right, right. You're supposed to go through lots of rejection. uh,
yeah, in like I said I did comics first. I wrote comics for about 10 years before I published anything in prose, and a lot of it sucked. But it was how I learned how to tell stories, or one of the key ways I learned how to tell stories. And I needed to tell stuff that was, not that great, whether it was too, whether I was ripping off somebody else too much, or whether I was relying too much on being clever and not telling a good story, or
Mm,
whatever the case may be. I had to work that stuff out of my system. And um, yeah, it's tough when you have the opportunity to not do that and not realize the
mm,
importance of working out those, getting those bad stories out.
right. And but with Weird House magazine, you're doing this is going to be in print, not just digital,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
print.
this will be in print.
Okay.
And I think the first 35 copies that get ordered will be signed by Joe and I. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a real print magazine. Joe is a huge advocate of print and like nice prints. I don't know if you've seen any of the Weird House hardcovers that he does, but he does these gorgeous, just th- they're really high end hardcovers with, you have the dust jacket, of course, but then you have usually a cloth or like a faux leather binding with foil stamping on there. Then in the inside, there's nice end papers. On my Devil's Night book, I think there were 9 full color illustrations. You get a book ribbon. So and Joe's just he's all about putting out really nice product. So when we decided to do a magazine, it had to be in print. Because I said, well, we could do it in print, or we could just do it a PDF. And um, my original idea was do a PDF and just kind of send it out to the mailing list or whatnot.
Yeah.
But Joe goes big. He's a go big or go home kind of guy. So I was when he was willing to put in the money to do that, I wasn't going to say no.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that. And there is something about print. And in fact, that's one thing I want to ask you is, what is it about the print form with, let's say, a horror magazine that you really enjoy?
I mean, you kind of touched on it earlier when you're saying the ability to hold it, and I like I like I guess magazine style artwork, whether it's comic covers or magazine covers, stuff like that. Like I like them as decoration. I like them just to look at. I like to collect them.
Hmm.
So you
That's
have
it.
something here that's collectible, like and you look at old issues of like weird going back to Weird Tales, back
Oh
in
yeah, weird
the
tells.
20s, 30s or whatnot. Um, and it's this thing that you can hold on to, that you can pass on or sell to other people who want to embrace this tradition. And I mean, if you want to like, I understand the value of collecting stuff. I have like long boxes full of comics and bags with backboards and all that stuff. But I also understand the value of ripping a fucking magazine or a comic up and hanging up the pages and stuff like that. You know, um, as a kid, that's what I did with metal magazines and stuff. That's what my posters were. Where I just ripped out pages from magazines.
Hmm.
Um, and I like that aspect of it too, that you could,
Yeah, that's nice.
just hang this stuff on your wall.
Oh yeah, that's real
So
nice. That's real nice. And it's all physical aspect to that too. Like you can't do that with
yeah,
digital stuff. It's like,
yeah, exactly. You can't like rip a page out of a PDF and put it up on your wall. I guess you could print it, but it's a little bit different.
right, right, right. Now,
And there's
other
something cool about going through all your old magazines, like being able to flip through them, and um, yeah, it's a different feeling than going through your Kindle library.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also a social aspect to it too. Like it's much
Yeah,
easier to kind of spread. Let's say you had a horror magazine, you could spread around, be like, hey man, you gotta check out the story. Oh, you gotta check out this artwork. You gotta check out this image. Oh man, this looks so badass.
yeah. Like I don't know if you've ever read Forbidden Futures, which is kind of a an illustrated horror magazine that
I I,
it's
I
just
remember seeing it. Preparation for
yeah,
this, I've seen it, but no, I've not read it. No.
it's cool too. It's like a small little magazine. It's a
Okay.
like maybe like the size of like an ash can comic or something. Um, and it's full of beautiful illustrations. And the guy's name escapes me, who the illustrator is, off the top of my head. But the setup of the magazine is this guy just has like a ton of like back catalog artwork, whether it's stuff that was previously published or stuff he hadn't published. And they'll get authors and they'll say, here's 2 images, write a story on this, and that's how that magazine works. I think it's a really cool format.
That is cool.
And it's a gorgeous magazine, and they always have great writers. And like you said, like there's a social aspect where you read that and you're like, oh man, this is really cool, and then you pass it on to a friend, or even I remember when I was a kid, would have friends come over and play music, and would have comics and magazines spread out all over the place, and somebody's reading, you know like Kerrang, somebody's reading X-Men, and then you switch. um so, and obviously, as adults, you don't do that so much, but I kind of miss it.
Yeah, yeah. Do that. Yeah, the social aspect is very important, man. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. It's like something that I think gets missed because if someone is, I guess, using their Kindle to read a horror magazine, they're not really going to be like, "Hey, check this out." It's more like a isolated thing. Like it's more individualized, and I don't know. It just seems different. Maybe I sound like an old fart.
It's all right. I'm
Looking
old
at the
too.
technology of these youngins of these kids, and then be like, man, you don't understand. Back in my day, it was so much better. You could
Well,
turn the
I
page.
get I get romantic about that with all sorts of stuff. A good friend of mine, we were talking about Spotify, and I love Spotify. I know, like, I'm not supposed to because of money,
Yeah, they
what
don't pay
they
the
pay
author.
the artist.
They don't pay the artist worth of anything on here.
Um,
Yeah.
but I will say this, that a lot of the stuff I listen to on Spotify is stuff that I own, and I listen to it on Spotify out of convenience. Um, so, if that makes any difference, um, but as I was saying, I love Spotify, but a friend of mine, we were talking about the excitement that we used to get going to like a record store, and you'd buy a new CD. We were big into black metal, and like in the mid to late 90s, um, you didn't have a lot of choices, so you went to the record store, you saw something with some logo that you couldn't read, and you bought it, and you hoped
Yeah.
that it was good. And that was really exciting, like buying this and being like, man, is this going to be good, or did I just waste 20 bucks? Um
Oh,
and
I
sometimes
hate.
it's
Oh, yeah, this days, man. That was a. I know what you're talking about. That was such a gamble, because I was like, man, I
yeah.
wish you could just preview this before you bought it, but no, you bought it.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I kind of miss the gamble of it.
yeah, yeah.
And I think there was
It,
also an aspect where you gave stuff more of a chance, because you're like, man, I already dropped the
you
money on this.
did,
I'm
you
gonna
had
try
to,
to write this.
you
I'm gonna
had to.
I'm gonna try to like this.
Let's say you bought I remember buying a Demi Borgir album, and
Yep.
I don't know what the album cover I guess looked like. Honestly, it looked like um a vagina being like tortured with like fish hooks and stuff. I don't know what it was, man. It
All
looks like,
right.
what the hell is this? You probably know. Did you know the album? I don't
I
know.
do. Yeah. I
Okay.
know the cover you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Um, so I was like, okay. Took a gamble on that, and there was a few songs I liked on the album. Some was like, well, this kind of grew on me, but you learn to appreciate it. You learn to because
Yeah,
that's what you spent $20, and you get
exactly. So you're
so
gonna try to make the best out of it.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
And nowadays, whether it's something like Spotify, where you just, oh, don't like it, don't, after 30 seconds, or even with Kindle, you buy a book for 99 cents, and you get 5 pages into it, and then you're like, nope, because it was just 99 cents, so
yeah.
who cares? Or some people return. I never return Kindle books, but I guess that's something people do. So
Oh man, it's like, yeah, we had to learn to appreciate things because we actually paid for it, but didn't really know what we were getting.
yep.
But now it's like things are so much cheaper, as if they're not even important. I don't know. It seems like a huge disservice to creators in a way. I mean, in one aspect, they are able to put stuff out there and get more, I guess, publicity. Or no, not publicity. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's easier to find them in some ways. In some
Yeah, yeah,
ways,
I mean, you in some ways, it's easier to get in front of people, in the sense that
yeah,
you can get into the marketplace easier, I guess.
yeah,
But getting attention within the marketplace is harder, because there's so many people.
right,
Um, and but I will tell you, I think it kind of evens out,
okay,
because it's eventually, you know, talent rises to the top. People are gonna. No, I'm not saying that everyone talented makes it, or but if you stick with it long enough and you work hard and you're talented, you're probably gonna get noticed. Um, and I think kind of fighting your way through the crowds is maybe easier, or at least n- on par with having to send out, you know, a manuscript with a self-addressed stamped envelope and wait 6 months to get a rejection letter and then
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah, you're right.
um,
It's like kind of like a different form. It's different,
yeah,
but
it's
kind of
different
evens out.
challenge.
Okay, I can get that
Uh,
because that process itself is really slow and cumbersome and annoying. But it took a lot of work. It kind of built character in a way. The whole
yeah,
snail mail thing over that. Um, but now what it is, yeah. So you can probably find a publisher that'll take you, a small publisher, but who even knows who they are? You kind of have to work together
yeah,
as a team to get the publicity of any sort. So and you're gonna have to learn
yeah.
some
I mean,
SEO stuff.
even working with like a big small press, you're gonna have to do a lot of the marketing yourself, um, if you want to be successful. And that's not to say that there aren't small presses who are doing marketing and doing it well, but they don't have the funds of, like, Simon and Schuster or something like that.
Right.
Um, so if you want people to notice you, you gotta go out there and make them notice you. and and I'll say that from I do marketing for Warehouse, and it's much easier to work to publicize a book when the author is excited about publicizing it. Um, and there's some authors who just aren't interested in that, whether they're
Hmm.
older and they've just been kind of doing this for too long, and they're kind of done with the publicity aspect, or whether they're just kind of shy, or whatever the case may be. It's much harder to sell their book when they're not willing to kind of put themselves out there. And then you have guys who are super excited and they're like, "Yeah, man, I'll go on all the podcasts, I'll answer all the interviews."
Yeah.
Um, so, like you said, you have to work with them, because if if you have a publisher who's trying to get you on podcasts, trying to get you interviews, trying to get you reviews and stuff like that, they can only do these things if you're cooperating with them. And
Right.
it's fine. Like,
Right.
if you're the type of guy who doesn't want to do interviews, you don't want to do bookstore appearances, whatever. That's a totally valid way to be an author, but you're gonna have a harder time of selling books.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
Uh,
Now going back to this Weird House magazine, what have been some of the hurdles or obstacles that you had to overcome with this one?
we'll see. I mean, we're still doing it, so I anticipate the worst is yet to come. But um, right now, I think
Well, this
it's
particular issue though is set for May.
yeah.
We're
Well, I mean, all the content's done right now. It's really um, um, our design guy and I have to kind of agree on basically where to put the images. Um, that's kind of where we're at right now, and then he's just gonna put it together. But all the actual content is put together, and I guess I don't think that was challenging. We had enough people interested right off the bat to get the issue more than full, and people who were excited to write original, like, nonfiction content for it, like the Silent Hill thing. There's a review of the Color Out of Space out of there, in there. So, and then I did a piece where I talked to different musicians who are into horror and weird fiction to ask about their favorite stories, and people were very responsive and got back to me quick. So that part of it was really easy. I'm just I don't know enough about the design aspect to say how that's going to go, if it'll be challenging. But for me, Cyrus, our design guy, he's like, "Oh, I need a map of the issue," and he's done magazines before, and I haven't, so I'm just like I felt like I was at work and somebody was asking me for some report that I was supposed to know how to do.
right. It's like I don't know what you mean by a map of the issue here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's the challenge, is the learning curve stuff of where I can edit, I can get content, I can work with contributors, but Yeah, and I've formatted comics before and stuff like that, but this is different. With a comic, it's linear. I know how it's a story. Um, a magazine is a little
Hmm.
bit different. So,
Yeah.
and I honestly, I had thought would just give Cyrus the text and give him the images, and he was just gonna magically put it all together. But I guess that's not
Mm.
how it works. I guess
Yeah,
how
what
it works.
happened then? He'll put it in the way he thinks it goes, but that might not be the way you want. Yeah, that's where the
Yeah, and I think
outline, that's where the map comes in. Now,
exactly, and I think he doesn't want to be responsible for. He doesn't want to have to do it twice when he
right,
does it, and then we're like, no, not like that. Start over.
right. So,
So,
uh, have, have have you been able to reach out to anybody for advice, or has anyone come to you as far as advice, or have there also been
well, I
like
guess
magazines that you kind of look up to or look towards as reference as to what to
we've
do, what
been
not to do?
we've been looking at magazines for reference, and then, like I said, Cyrus has done some magazine work before, so that's huge. That's a huge help. He knows what he's doing. In way back in the day, Joe used to run Dark Regions. He was the founder of Dark Regions before his son took it over, and there was a Dark Regions magazine way back in the '80s. But Joe put that together with an actual printing press. Like he had like a physical printing press. Like he himself made that magazine. Like like not just compiled it, but like he physically like cranked it out and stapled it together. So that's a little bit different. Um, and I imagine he just like pasted stuff. It was probably
Probably.
physically pasted together. So but he does have some experience with this, and he understands how a quality product works. And then we've just been looking at magazines that we're into, whether it's something like a fiction magazine, like Cemetery Dance, where it has like fiction and nonfiction features, or Rue Morgue, or something more artsy like heavy metal, or airy or something like that. So we've been looking at all those things. And the other thing that I guess where I wanted to kind of make things different is looking at more mainstream magazines like Rolling Stone or something like that. Because for me, a big point of this magazine is to highlight and elevate authors. And I think that I don't know. I think writing's cool. I think books are cool, and I think that more writers should be rock stars. So I want to kind of um, I want to make that I want to facilitate that. So we're doing there's an interview with Tim Karn, and we have some pictures of like his writing space and stuff like that. So I wanted to get into a little bit more of
Okay.
who the authors are, and building them up, and um, focusing on their personalities and what you know kind of making them rock stars. So
Make them rock
um,
stars. Okay.
I was looking at, like I said, more mainstream magazines for that aspect of it, stuff like Rolling Stone, or even like the heavy metal and punk magazines I grew up on, which um, obviously don't have the same mainstream aesthetic kind of thing, but they did good jobs on having these features on artists and stuff. So
Now the sorry,
no,
the
you're good.
writers you work with right now, do they have their own like social media platforms or presence? Or are they on YouTube
Some of
or
them.
TikTok or something or Instagram or some way to be out there and to be the rock star? I guess.
Yeah, some better than others. And like I said, we only have one in this first issue. We have an interview with Tim Kern, and we have an interview with Nick Greenwood, who's the artist on the cover. So Tim's pretty good about Tim's got some social media presence, and he's well known. So and he's willing to do stuff. I have a future episode of my podcast coming up where we did like a sci-fi horror panel, and he's on there with me and Jeffrey Thomas and Garrett Boatman, and I've set him up with a couple other podcasts and such. So Tim's very willing to get out there and talk, and like I said, people know him, they love his work, so he's kind of easy to do that with. And then the second issue, our feature interview is going to be with Ramsey Campbell, and I mean it's Ramsey
Nice.
Campbell, so he's already a rock star.
Yes, yes, he is. Now,
So,
in some
so
ways, I was thinking, have you thought about or given any thought to how maybe you can use, like, let's say YouTube or live streams to, I guess, to help, I guess, push the magazine as well?
So the only thing I thought about it was is I like I said I have my own podcast. That's not like it's not a live stream or anything like
Yeah.
that. But just talking about it on there or putting ads for it on there, I just the YouTube and live stream and stuff like that is something I haven't explored very much. Like I've dabbled in it a little bit, but it seems like it's a whole skill set that I don't know that I have time to invest in right now. Because I feel like if you half-ass it, it doesn't work out for you. You really have to go
Right.
for it.
Right.
And
Um,
I have a friend who's actually a friend who's been doing like, he's been reading horror stories on TikTok, and he has like a fucking bajillion followers on TikTok, and I don't understand TikTok at all, but it's worked out
but
for him.
that
So I think it's
there's a whole realm, I guess circle, I guess, I guess community on YouTube of creepypasta stuff, like where people just
yeah.
read horror stories. And I mean, if you
My
do it,
son's super into YouTube. My son loves YouTube,
yeah.
and he my son's actually he's on me all the time about how I should, oh, you should write creepy pastas or you should write SCP stories or, you should do this on YouTube. But like I said, I don't know that I have the
Yeah,
time to
so
learn
if I
those
say
skill
Siren
sets.
Head, you know who that is. Siren
Yeah.
Head.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like,
My son's
okay,
super
it's
into
all
that
right,
stuff.
son.
I
How's
do
that?
think it's cool though that there's this whole new horror culture that's developed, and just because like I'm an old guy and I don't quite, you know, it's not quite my thing. I just think it's really cool that horror has kind of evolved and developed for people with different younger people with different tastes and different.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, horror's
I don't
still
want to like,
alive, very
yeah,
much. It's just done a different way. It's like a lot of kids growing up. I mean, I just look at our kids, and it sounds like our kids might be similar age, but it's like they're growing up with kind of like YouTube, and they're getting horror that way. So it's not like a
yep.
Halloween or you know Friday the 13th or whatever. It's not like any of that stuff. It's weird YouTube videos. It's like SCP. It's
Yeah.
these weird found footage things. There's a whole other thing too that we explored on the Deadman Horror Show. These ARGs or alternate reality games where it's like you are looking at creepy videos that have like embedded stuff in them for you to figure out, and then find other creepy videos that just like
Oh,
what
that's
is.
neat.
It is so bizarre. It's so weird. Um, but yeah, it is really so horror's still alive and well. I mean, people
Oh yeah,
love it.
very much. Um, and I think it's cool that I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm being demeaning to young people, and I don't mean it that way at all. But
Oh,
I
it's
feel like
okay.
there is an attention
It's okay
span
here.
difference between generations. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think that my kid's like 13. I don't think that his generation has the same attention span that I had when I was 13, and that's fine. Like they're growing up with different technologies, they're growing up with a totally different world, and I just think it's cool that horror is adapting to that, and you're having this stuff that's a shorter format, that can speak to these people in that they're making stuff that for their peers and contemporaries. Um, I just think it's cool. I know some people get bent out of shape about it because they feel like a dinosaur. They're sitting here writing 100,000 word novels, and then some kid makes a 5 minute YouTube video and it goes, gets a million views. But I don't know, man. Good for them. I think it's awesome.
Right, right, right. And I understand why they get bent out of shape about it. I mean, the novel took a lot of time. And you'd be like, oh, the video took like nothing, but people like it. It's like, and you're probably sitting there wondering, like, well, how do I do what I'm doing now with this on this novel and put it in a form where people are gonna like it too? And like, but it's like, well, you're working on a book. If your book is good and the story's good, people like it, and the marketing, well, you hit it just right with the marketing, then you'll get your audience. I mean, it's probably not going to be like
Yeah.
a viral
It's not gonna be the
sensation like
same
on YouTube.
numbers,
Yeah, it's not going to be the
but
same numbers. No, definitely. I mean,
But the other thing too is, if you, I'm not saying this. Obviously, all books aren't memorable. There's a lot of books that are fun and good books that aren't memorable. But it just depends on what kind of writer you want to be. Some people just want to pump out books and make, they just want to sell like volume. So they pump out a book every 2 months or whatever, and that's a perfectly valid business plan. But if you are really concerned about, I guess, making, uh, getting those huge numbers on a single work, um, you're probably not going to do it in fiction,
Yeah.
especially in small press. But you are going to make something, hopefully, that's very memorable if you really work hard on it. And I think that that's kind of a trade-off with YouTube or whatnot, with a few exceptions. These videos are largely disposable for people. They watch them once and they move on.
Right.
And some of them might stick with some people for a while, but a lot of them don't. It's just kind of,
Hell, even the
something
videos,
fun.
even the videos that these content creators on YouTube make are pretty much one and done. A lot of them, especially depending on where you are on YouTube. I mean, they're reacting to things that are only relevant in that moment or in that time, and
Yeah,
after the day,
absolutely.
it's done. And whether they're covering news or covering commentary on, some latest trend or whatever, it's like that. The video's worth is, I don't know. It's within a couple of days. As
Yeah,
far as views.
exactly. And this always, I'm going off off the side of the road
That's
here,
all right. That's all
but
right.
it always makes me like wonder what people are thinking when they do that sort of topical stuff with fiction. Like if you're writing like a whole novel and you're like, when Trump was president, there were all these books that came out, all these like really like either like, yeah,
Trumpocalypse, this
like
Trump.
exactly stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
I think Deadman started
um
one too. Yeah, we did.
and they it's like, man, you just wrote, I don't know, I haven't read any of them. I doubt that they're very long, but let's say you wrote a 40,000 word novel, making fun of Trump or whatever. Like, if it's like, you put it out by midterms, nobody's going to care in 2 years. Like
Yeah.
you put a shelf life on this thing that you presumably put a lot of time and effort into.
Hmm.
It just doesn't seem worth it to me. Like,
Right. Right.
uh,
Right.
to pick something so in the now, so topical, and and just know that it's disposable. Like no one's gonna buy that book once this guy's out of office. Like,
Right. I don't think
um,
so anyway. Yeah. Unless they
so
really, really don't like him. Well, okay.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes some things what people do, they put like, yeah, they put like a shelf life on their work.
yeah. And I think that like YouTube's a great thing for that because that's the whole format. Like you pump stuff out, and you're not putting 6 months into making a video. I'm sure that you might put, it depends, like a real high quality video. Like I'm sure like to produce and edit and do like a Mr. Beast video probably takes maybe a week or something like that. You know what I mean? But that's a week. It's not 6 months. Uh, so
Yeah, man, and Mr. Beast, man, he has it down though. That guy just started off
Mr.
playing
Beast,
playing video games. And that's
yeah, and like I think he did one where he was like reading like the dictionary or something like that.
yeah,
I will tell you, man, Mr. Beast. My son got me into Mr. Beast, and to me, that guy is doing more good, like just like the little things he do, not even little, the things he does on an individual basis for people do so much more good than like 99.9% of politicians.
that's
Like I
true.
just love that this guy's out there making a difference in individual people's lives, in you know, putting goodness into the world and making charity and in kindness cool on the internet. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I just think that's fantastic. And for all the crap that our kids generations get from some people, um I think that something, once again, like YouTube is showing like how much good that these young people can do. And I don't know, man, I just think it's really cool.
I do too. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about here is definitely your story in the Weird House magazine.
Yeah.
So I understand the story is called A New Devil's Night story. What's going on with
Well,
that?
that's it. That's just it is. It's a story that would have fit into my Devil's Night collection. Um, but the story is actually called Gallows of Hell, and I originally wrote it to go into the Devil's Night collection, but I ended up pulling it because there were some other stories that I liked better. But this is an old story of mine. It started off. I originally wrote it. I don't know. My son was a baby, so I don't know, like 11 or 12 years ago. Probably like 12 years ago, I wrote it. And the original version was a script for a Punisher comic called Frank Castle in Hell, which I sent to Marvel as a blind submission, and of course, never heard anything back.
No,
And then
but I think they took it though because I think Punisher did go to hell for a little bit. I'm not sure about that. I
maybe
don't. I don't
I don't
know.
know. I like I'm I
So wait, if Punisher goes to
I've been a
hell,
big
is that kind of like Spawn? No, wait, but Spawn was a mercenary. Or no, wait,
Spawn
no.
was a mercenary, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I ended
Mm,
up
okay.
taking it and I just kind of changed it to be different enough. Instead of Frank Castle, it was this guy named Jack Gallows, and you know, instead of his gimmick was hanging criminals or something like that. So I did a short comic, like a 10-page comic. I don't know, like 10 years ago, under that name,
Okay.
and then I rewrote it for Devil's Night, and it didn't, like I said, I didn't put it in there, but I still liked it. So when we were putting this magazine together, I said, hey, let's put in this unused Devil's Night story because people have asked for more of it. So that's what we did. And the basic premise though is just some guy, this vigilante type guy who's lost his family. He's getting old. He's getting a little bit sloppy. He ends up dying while he's in a gunfight with some criminals and ends up in hell. And the story, I guess, kind of looks at the idea of what hell is
What
and
hell is? Okay.
the perceptions, I guess, the perceptions of your place in hell. So whether you think that you kind of how your place in hell is determined by your perception of yourself, and you have, I guess, people in there who feel guilty over their sins or whatnot, who are being eternally tormented because they, you know, essentially they feel like they deserve that for whatever they do. And that
Okay.
they're kind of, reflecting, the sins that they've committed or whatnot. But then you have guys like Jack Gallows, you know, um, this vigilante, or the criminals that he killed, like really bad guys, and they don't think that they did anything wrong really. So they end up becoming more like the torturers. They essentially end up functioning as demons down there. Um, so
Oh,
Jack
that's kind of
Gallows,
interesting. That's kind of interesting way
yeah.
of looking at. Yeah.
So in Jack Gallows in hell, finally, once he kind of gets acclimated to it, and realizes that he's never going to get to heaven, he's never going to get back to his family, um, decides, he's gonna do what he was doing on Earth. So it's about this guy deciding, goes to hell and he gets to eternally fight the people that he put there.
I see. Yeah. See, I gotta see hell kind of a similar way. I suppose I see it kind of like a free for all, like anything goes sort of thing. It's like imagine being on the internet back when it was new and there was really no moderation whatsoever.
Yeah,
Anything goes, literally anything goes. And I mean, so I mean, some people would probably enjoy that. Other people will not. I mean, it. I don't know. It seems like just whatever. I mean, the music would be great down there. I mean, all the rock stars
yeah,
probably be down there. You have like Slayer playing, or you know, while you're having Carnage. And I guess if you die in hell, you just come back. I guess you respawn. So it's like playing Quake. It's like playing
yeah.
Quake. I love playing Quake. Quake is one of my favorite games. That or Duke Nukem or Halo or whatever. So yeah, if that's what hell is, sign me up.
There you go.
you know. But so he's a mercenary, or he's
He's a
a
vigilante.
vigilante in hell. So
Yeah,
he's kind of like the Doom guy, I guess. He's down there and he's kicking demon ass.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much.
Cool. Could he store a bunch of weapons at the same time? I think what is the Doom guy holds like 8 weapons at once.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh god, a chainsaw, shotgun, rocket launcher, plasma. I
Yeah.
don't know. BFG. God damn.
I think
Does he kick Satan's ass?
no, so actually, so Satan's in it as kind of a version of Satan's in it as kind of a tour guide and just um, kind of guiding him towards
Uh,
this, like nudging him towards this, is kind of a manipulator. Like, hey, look at all these people down here that you sent down here. They're doing pretty good. Maybe you and him should fight.
oh wow.
So in that it gets into that aspect of it where um, the figure of Satan kind of nudging these damned souls to keep repeating the things that brought them there, but in kind of a slick way instead of a forceful way.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. That's an interesting look. Yeah, I think I read an Anne Rice book that had a depiction of hell like this. Oh yeah, Mimok the Devil. It
All
was
right.
one of the Lestat books. Um, Lestat goes to hell, and it's kind of like similar way. It's kind of like free for all. Anything goes. You got people being crucified, people being burned on the stake, burning witches. You got like people still like I guess World War II fatigues, like shooting each other. So
Yep.
that would be weird though. It's like wait, it's like a goddamn like
Yeah, just
bukkake
chaos.
of just chaos. You know? What the hell? Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a fun story, and like I said, it's something that I've written in different forms throughout the years, and I've always come back to it. So to get it into a final form and get it out into the world was kind of exciting for me.
Sounds like it is. Yeah. So
It's a little bit different than most of my other stuff. I don't do a lot of stuff with like Judeo-Christian kind of themes, like hell and stuff like that. I generally like lean more towards I don't know, like cosmic or like variations on Norse mythology and such. So it was nice to kind of get out of my normal routine of these are your bad guys.
okay, okay. I mean, is there a particular reason for that? I mean, like on this story, do you have personal experience when it comes to like religion or anything like that?
No, really, it was just spawned by the whole idea of this of a vigilante, or being totally honest, of Punisher. If he died, like the fact that he'd never see his family, like in that whole way that I guess you would see the world. You're this ex-military guy, you're this ex-cop. You probably at least one point believed in God and had like followed some sort of like mainstream religion, and that you're killing people and this is not going to lead you to heaven to be back with your family if you believe in that sort of thing. So I thought that was an interesting thing to explore, where you have this guy who's in pain and all he wants is to be back with his family, but his actions are making it so that he can never be with his family again. And that was kind of the impetus for it.
Hmm. Okay, I can see that. So imagine the Punisher goes to hell, pretty much. I
Yeah,
like
pretty
that. I
much.
like that. I like that.
So
Pretty cool. So this seems like a really good looking magazine, and I hope it goes. I hope it does well. I
thank
don't
you.
see why it wouldn't. It looks
Well, we got a lot of interest right off the bat. It's up for pre-order, and we've gotten pre-orders for it already, and um, I've had people reach out to me telling me that they've ordered it. People asking how to submit to future issues, um, and yeah, I think it's gonna do. I think it's gonna do well. I hope so.
yeah. You already have. How many pre-orders do you guys have?
I don't know. Joe has all that information, so
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know how many,
I wouldn't be
but
surprised. So like if people want to pre-order, they should just go ahead and pre-order now while they can.
yeah,
Um,
I would go to weirdhousepress.com. You can pre-order there. I mean, obviously, we'll print enough for however many pre-orders we get and
yeah.
more. But I know the first 35 were signed by Joe and I, so I don't know if we're past 35 pre-orders yet. But
I don't know. I
on
think we're not. I think we're right on 33. I
the
think whoever's listening to this, they need to go ahead and pre-order, and that
so
way you
you have
get
a
a signed
chance of
copy.
getting a signed copy if you pre-order. So
All right. Well, Curtis Lawson, thank you so much for coming on to the Deadman Horror Show and hanging out. It's good talking to you again.
thank you,
It's
sir.
been a while. It's been a while. When I restarted the show under a different name, I was trying to do solo shows, get a feel for it, get really into some dark and weird stuff like serial killers and other ARGs, like I mentioned before. Um, but yeah, I
I'm gonna
think
check out the ARG thing. That sounds really cool.
I could tell you, man. Don't. I'll tell you. Look into the Walton files. Look into the
Okay,
Walton files. It is so bizarre. It is.
will do.
It is. It will keep you up at night. It's pretty bizarre. And and there's another ARG I covered here on the show called World. I'll, this one is very sick. This one legit. There's some like probably some criminal elements to this. World Corp Enterprises. Okay.
Okay.
They had some footage that some people believe could be clipped from actual very illegal content, so to speak. Okay, that's the thing about these ARGs. You don't know what you're seeing is like. Is this a crime or is it not a crime? You know,
Yeah.
because sometimes it looks like is this found footage? Oh, this is fake. Or wait, what's going on here? You know, it's. But anyway, that's called World Court Enterprises. Anyway,
All right. Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much for
All
coming
right.
on. And
Can I just plug one more thing before I go?
sure.
So I think this is going up soon. I don't know when this is live, or if it's live now.
No, it'll be
But
live on Friday, tomorrow.
yeah. Okay. So next week, I think my new collection from Hippocampus Press, I think, should be up for pre-order, and that's called The Envious Nothing, which will be up on hippocampuspress.com hopefully next week.
Sounds good. The end of nothing.
The Envious Nothing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
It is no problem. You take it easy, Lawson. All
You
right.
too.